Hello and welcome to MimiLumi Presents Hump Day Yoga. For those of us who've never done Hump Day Yoga with me before, I used to do this on Instagram Live, but I feel like we're all becoming a little bit sick of Instagram Live. And I, particularly for these half-hour sessions, sort of was lamenting the fact that they were only staying online for 24 hours anyway, and I thought it would be a good idea to move to YouTube so that they can be a resource that you can use whenever you wish. And also it just allows me to have a little bit of a higher production value in the sense that I can actually film them in the living room earlier in the morning rather than in my bedroom at 12 noon. So, welcome and let's get started. So we're going to start standing today. So anywhere on your mat, at the top of the mat perhaps, with the feet hip-width distance. Take a moment to pick your toes up, spread them wide, and then place them back down onto your mat. And have a little play with your weight. Rocking side to side, forwards, backwards, seeing how you feel, until you can find a spot where your weight feels really even through all four corners of the feet. Feel that your tailbone drops down towards the earth as the crown of the head lifts up towards the sky. And as we inhale, we'll draw our shoulders up towards our ears and then exhale them back down our spine. Softly close down your eyes. Begin to draw your awareness to your breath. Not trying to actively change or alter the breath just yet, but noticing its rhythm and texture today. Checking in with your body, trying not to cast any judgment on that, but noticing how the body feels, where there might be areas of tension or soreness, and check in with your energy levels as well. And again, there's no right or wrong, we're just building that awareness. Bring some more focused attention to the breath now, so that as you inhale, you can really feel the breath traveling through the soles of the feet, through the legs, up through the torso, all the way up to the crown of your head, feeling it lift a little higher towards the sky. And then as you exhale, that breath travels back down, so you lose none of that height, but there's a sense of the breath working back down through the body to ground down through the feet. Inhale. To draw up from the earth through the soles of the feet and lift high, all the way up, and then exhale, the breath travels back down. So a very simple breathing exercise, but we're using it as a gentle way to lengthen the breath. So obviously, the body is a fairly long thing, so we're encouraging a longer, slower breath. At the same time, we're playing with this idea that we play with all the time in yoga, that every inhalation is a chance to grow, to broaden and become more open. And then an exhale is a chance to surrender and soften without losing any of that sense of openness that you create in the body with the breath. So just continuing for a few more rounds. And if you feel like there's any dead energy and in a particular section of the body where you feel like the breath is not flowing easily, see if you can send your focus a little bit more strongly there, wherever that might be. Good. And then we'll take 2 audible breaths. So we'll take 2 deep breaths in and 2 audible sighs out through the mouth in your own time. Deep breath in. One last time. Deep breath in. And then softly let your eyes become readjusted to the light in the room. We're beginning today with a slightly dance vibe start to the practice. So as we inhale, we're lifting our hands up towards the sky. And it's like we stretch first thing in the morning. There's no right or wrong, just a little bit of a stretch for the arms. And then as you exhale, I want you to fall forward from the hips with a bend in the knees and swing your torso forwards, up, and then the arms come down. So here we're using the momentum of our arms and our body. So you're just letting the swing take place. So we inhale to come up and stretch. Working through the sides of the torso, a little bit of energy through the core muscles, and then exhale, we swing down, swing it up, and then drop. And then again, let your hands just swing, and then they're going to come to a stop. Let's do that 2 more times. This time as you inhale, you might want to even come up to the balls of your feet. Ooh, crooked ankles. Looking up if it's comfortable, and then exhale. So basically, this is just a way of kind of dusting off those cobwebs and bringing a little bit more movement and momentum into the body. Inhale up, and then exhale, we swing. Good. Lovely. From here, let's take our variation of circle of the joy, but standing. So we'll bring hands to prayer at heart center. So we inhale, we interlace the fingers, and we draw the elbows apart, but resist with the fingertips. As we exhale, we bend the knees slightly and bring the palms forward, chin to chest, creating a C-shaped curve through the spine. So we look like this. Inhale, we stand up tall, palms up towards the sky, shoulders away from ears. And then as you exhale, you take those hands behind you, interlace the fingers. Inhale, work the wrists together as you draw the fist down towards the earth. And then exhale, the hands return back to prayer. 2 more rounds. Interlace those fingers. Inhale. Imagine there's balloons inflating in the torso. Exhale, we fold and press into seeker. Inhale, reaching up nice and tall, shoulders relax away from the ears, and then exhale, the hands come behind, interlace those fingers. Inhale, open heart breath. Maybe we're looking up if it's comfortable for our necks. And then exhale, the hands come back to prayer. 1 last round. This time, change the cross of your fingers. So for most of us now, that will be left fingers forward. Deep breath in. Exhale, you press and curve away, bending through the knees. Inhale to sit up nice and tall. Exhale, the hands come behind. Keep your opposite cross here, even though you can't see the fingers. Inhale, big open heart breath. And then exhale, the hands return to prayer. Beautiful. Release the hands by your side. From here, we're going to roll down the spine into our first Uttanasana. So on an exhale, we begin to slowly roll down. And we're still warming up, so the knees can be nice and bent. If your fingers can't quite touch the mat, then you're holding onto your ankles or your shins. And then from there, give your head a few nods and shakes, just to release any tension you might be feeling. And then from here, we inhale to a halfway lift, hands coming to shins, coming to a flat back position. And then as we exhale, normally we want to fold and try to maintain straight legs, but I want us to bend the knees this time so that we're really working through those joints. So we're going to exhale to fold down and really bend the knees. Inhale, we come back up. Good. Exhale, so you can see I'm really bending the knees quite a lot. And then inhale, we come back up. 2 more times. Exhale, we bend. Inhale up. Exhale, we bend. And then we inhale up. Good. This time as you exhale, work towards keeping the legs straight as you come into your full forward roll Uttanasana. Now from here, we're going to walk ourselves into a full plank. So we'll ground our hands down towards the mat. And if you're at the back of your mat, that's fine. That just means you're walking your hands forward. But if you're at the front of the mat like me, we walk our feet back and we're coming into our full plank, which we're going to hold here for a count of 10, 9, 8, 7, 6, 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. And then from here, lift those hips up high. Come to your first downward facing dog. So again, the knees can be bent. I want you to focus more on pressing the pads of the hands into the mat and rotating your shoulders out and up the spine with the tailbone lifting up towards the ceiling. Once you've established your arms and your torso, you can begin to walk your dog. Alternate heel presses. Right heel comes to the mat as the left knee bends, and the left heel comes down as the right knee bends. And you can bring some movement in towards the hips as well, if that feels nice for you. And then when you feel like you've warmed up through the back of the legs enough, we inhale to the balls of both feet, coming to a slightly higher downward dog. Imagine you glue the tailbone where it is in the sky. And then as you exhale, heels become heavy. And they're just going to melt down towards the mat. Taking a little flow here. Now we'll inhale forward to our full plank. And then as we exhale, we're going to drop the knees until they're just hovering off the floor. And then push back into downward facing. So just a slightly different mechanism. Instead of coming up and over into the downward dog, we're sort of dropping down and shooting back. So just noticing how that changes the load slightly on the wrists. And works and engages our abdominal muscles in just a slightly different way. So always trying to encourage strength and flexibility in new movement patterns so that we're not always following the same worn path. Good. One more time, inhale forwards. Exhale, we come back. And then we'll softly let those knees drop onto the mat. Preparing for our dolphin, so walk the hands back in slightly, and then we're going to drop the elbows down towards the mat. So you want your elbows to be directly underneath your shoulders, knees and feet together. Check the distance of your elbows by wrapping the hands around. You should be able to wrap all your fingers around. If you can't, you need to bring the elbows in a little closer together. So for our dolphins today, let's practice with palms flat on the mat as a variation. And you want to imagine you're squeezing the elbows slightly together without them actually shifting on the floor. We tuck our back toes under, inhale to look forward, and then as we exhale, we press back into our dolphin. So here you can see my head's well off the floor, and I'm actually pressing through my forearms and my elbows to lift my hips a little higher to the sky, bring my heart center closer towards the mat. So we won't hold here for long, we're just sort of warming up really with this dolphin. Softly let the knees come back down towards your mat. Bring those arms out a little wider underneath your shoulders. Inhale into your half plank. Exhale, tuck your elbows in tight to the body and lie completely flat on the mat. Walk your legs out long. And then from here, let's take our Sphinx posture. So elbows again underneath your shoulders. Fingers pointing towards the front. As you inhale, it's like you're almost trying to lift and reach your heart center and your torso closer to the opposite wall without actually shifting on the floor. Good. Now you're welcome to stay here holding this stretch. If you'd like to do a little bit of a strengthener, we're going to take 5 leg pulses on each leg. So starting with your right leg, you're going to inhale and imagine someone's lengthening those toes before you lift them up to the sky. So you can just see my foot over my right shoulder. It's not up very high. We're going to pulse here, lifting the heel towards the ceiling for 5, 4, 3, 2, 1, and then softly lower. Good. If you feel like your hips have become a little uneven, you can shift and adjust as you need to. Before you move on to the other side, really think about pressing your pubic bone into the floor, engaging for your core muscles so your belly is trying to lift off the mat. And then we inhale to lengthen and then lift the left leg and pulse for 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. And then softly lower with control. Take those hands back underneath the shoulders. Inhale through your half plank. Exhale, take the weight back, tuck your toes under and press back into downward facing dog. Into our sun salutations. We inhale, right leg up nice and high. Exhale, scoop to the front of the mat in between those hands. And then we lower the back left knee. Now if you have a sensitive knee, you might want to pad the knee. I have a little folded towel here that I've prepared already. And then once I have my knee supported and padded, I come back to my supported half lunge, making sure my right ankle is directly underneath my right knee. Strong contraction through the core muscles. Press through sole of right foot, inhale up to my easy half lunge. As I exhale, I'm softening my pelvis closer towards the floor. At the same time, I'm trying to draw my left top of my thigh towards the front of the mat. So that's a little bit of a, I hate using the word tuck, but it's essentially bringing your pelvis more into neutral alignment. From here, take your hands behind and press your hands in towards the back of your pelvis. So I emphasize pelvis and not lower back. Once you're there, we're inhaling up, coming into an upper back extension. Now, if that's uncomfortable for the neck, keep the gaze forward. You can still open and broaden through the chest. But if your neck's okay, we're lifting the gaze slightly. So again, we're pressing down through the pelvis rather than into the lower back. So you're thinking about pressing the pelvis down and forward rather than crunching into the lower back. Exhale, slowly release, bringing the hands back down towards the mat. We grind down through the left palm, tuck our back toes under. Inhale, twist towards our right, looking up at those right fingers. Bring the energy into the big right toe, so your knees stay pointing out over the toes. One more deep breath in, and then exhale, hands return to the mat, and we press back into our downward facing dog. Taking a vinyasa flow, maybe let's inhale forward to our full plank. Exhale, lower the hips till they're just off the mat. Keep toes tucked under, inhale into a variation of our upward dog. Exhale, we take the weight back, moving into downward facing dog. On the left, we inhale, left leg up nice and high. Exhale, scoop it to the front of the mat, in between the hands. Again, we lower the back right knee into the padding if you need to. Readjust through the left foot if you need to. Press through sole foot, engage core muscles. Inhale up, exhale, we soften. Take those hands straight in towards the pelvis, pressing down through the pelvis and not the lower back. Feel the top of the right thigh, press towards the front of your mat. And then we inhale to lift and lengthen up. Holding for a few breaths. Now if this feels too intense, of course you can ease out. You can come to supported half lunge with your hands on the thigh. And then when you're ready, when it's your next exhalation, we release, taking hands back down towards the mat. This time we ground down through the right palm, we tuck our back toes under. Inhale, twist to the left, looking at those left fingers. So you can see that my thigh and my chest are really close together. I'm not letting this gap occur through my midline. One more deep breath in. Exhale, we take the hands back down towards the mat, and then we press back into downward facing dog. Good. Moving through another vinyasa flow of your choice. Now you can come to half plank and cobra. You can maybe try the variation we just did before. Or maybe you want to try your full vinyasa. Inhale, forward to full plank. Exhale down through chaturanga dandasana, elbows tied to the body. Inhale up to full upward facing dog. Hips are still off the floor. Exhale, we press back over our knees and toes into downward facing dog. Okay. Continuing on, we inhale, right leg up nice and high. Exhale, scoop it to the front of the mat in between the hands. Ground down through the sole of the right foot. Inhale up to high lunge. Exhale, let's take a hands to cactus. So we're working our hips so that they're square to the front, and we're trying to imagine that we're ripping them out apart with our feet. As you hold here, strong contraction of the abdominals, drawing navel in towards back of spine. You might like to even imagine that you're resting the upper body on a wall, like a giant inflatable beach ball is behind you. As you exhale, take both hands back down towards the mat. Slightly different transition now. We're going to ground down through our left arm, and we're picking up this front right foot to stack it on the back of our left to come into full side plank. Now if that feels a little intense on your wrists today, you can of course drop your left knee down to the floor to come to supported side plank. Otherwise, we're going to hold here for a few breaths, really trying to draw the hips up towards the sky. Relax through the back of your neck. And as you exhale, we'll take the right hand back down towards the floor. Move through the vinyasa flow of your choice. So maybe you want to come back to half plank and cobra. Particularly if the wrists are feeling a little sore after your side plank. And we press back. Continuing on, inhale, left leg nice and high. Exhale, scoop it to the front of the mat. You're trying to really draw that knee towards the head so you can land your foot at the front of the mat. Inhale, up high lunge. Exhale, come into the cactus shaped arms. Really trying to rip that mat apart. And again, maybe there's a slight upper back extension. Good. From here, we take the hands down towards the mat. We're really grounding down through the palm of the right hand this time, and the left foot will shift to stack on top of the right and come to full side plank. Back of the neck is long. We're gazing wherever is comfortable for our neck, pressing through the fingertips of that right hand. One more deep breath in, and then exhale, we come to our full plank and a vinyasa flow of our choice. Or maybe you want to come straight back to a downward dog, and that's okay as well. Deep breaths in and out. Resting in our child's posture if we want to collect the breath. But when we're ready to move on, we inhale the right leg up nice and high. Exhale, scoop it to the front of the mat in between the hands. This time we're going to ground down through our back left heel at a 45-degree angle. And then inhale to windmill ourselves up to standing. We're transitioning into our triangle posture. So you might want to adjust the back leg in slightly, so you have a slightly shorter stance. And then when you're ready, make sure the heel of your front foot, if you were to draw a line, would intersect with the arch of your back foot. I'm a little bit unable to demonstrate that, unfortunately, because of the camera angle. I trust that you can do this. And then, same as at the start of the class, we want energy flowing up through the legs, up towards the hips, thighs engaged. We're coming to a floating triangle, so we take the hands behind our head, interlace those fingers. And as you inhale, we draw the right elbow towards the front of your mat, and you let your left hip shift slightly back. And then as you exhale, we come into our floating triangle. So we're not bringing the hands down towards the legs. We want both sides of our torso to stay nice and straight. So if I twist on this angle so you can see, I'm not going very low at all, but I'm really working the whole of my torso as I maintain this position. Trying to make sure that my tailbone doesn't stick out behind me. And then release the hands into your triangle and notice that you're probably way higher than you expected to be. So a lot of us will probably be used to taking the right hand straight down to the floor, close to the ankle. But really, I like this version of triangle because it takes ego out of the picture. So worrying less about where the right hand can reach and worrying more about the stability and the strength you're building for the torso and your core. Now, from here, we're going to exhale and take the left hand down towards the front thigh. And we're going to change the positioning of our feet. So now, both toes are pointing towards the front of your mat. Hips are square and the legs are on train tracks rather than a tightrope. Yeah, so train tracks, not a tightrope. From here, we can lift slightly up, back upright, hands on hips. Inhale to lift and lengthen through the spine. And then as you exhale, we fold forward from the hips, coming to Parsvottanasana. Relax through the back of your neck. Now you can keep the hands on your hips and really focus on engaging through the legs, so it's becoming a strengthener as well as a stretch. Or if your lower back is feeling a little tender, of course the hands can come onto the front thigh or the front of the right shin for a little bit of extra support. It's up to you. If you're feeling quite comfortable here with hands on hips, maybe you can fold a little deeper, bringing the heart center closer towards the front of the right thigh. And really relax through the back of your neck. Maybe you can look at those back left toes now. Good. Now to release from this posture, we're simply going to bend the front right leg a little bit so that we can place the palms onto the mat. And then from there, you're simply walking back into your downward facing dog. And again, maybe you want to hold in your downward dog, appreciating the heat you built up in the body and the openness here of the stretch. Or maybe you want to move through a vinyasa flow, always feeling free to move between all your options of vinyasa flow. You're never locked in. Inhale forwards, exhale to lower to a cobra, or down to the floor. Inhale into your upward dog variation, and exhale, press back. Inhale, let's take that left leg nice and high this time. Scoop it to the front of the mat, in between the hands, lightly grounding that foot down. We'll ground down through the back of the right ankle this time, and then inhale, right arm brings us up. Both legs are straight. We adjust the stance if we need to, and we check the positioning of our ankles. Really drawing energy up through the soles of the feet into the thighs. Inhale, hands come behind the head, fingers interlace. Even here, making sure you're not letting the rib cage pop open. The core is engaged and the rib cage is connected to the front of your hips. Inhale, take the left elbow towards the top of the mat as the right hip shifts slightly back. And then exhale, we come into our floating triangle. We'll hold here for a few breaths. I like to imagine I've inserted myself into a giant human-sized toaster in my triangle to help myself stay as flat as a human body can be. So we don't want bottom out, head out. That's going to be burnt crispy toast. We want a nice gold even hue everywhere on the body. And then again, we release the left fingers down towards the front foot and the front leg, and just notice that you're probably a little higher than you expected, but hopefully the underside of your torso, the left side, is quite straight still and very strong. And as we exhale, we're taking that right hand down towards the front leg for support and changing the positioning of the legs. So train tracks, toes pointing towards the front of the mat. Come up slightly, hands on hips. Inhale to lift and lengthen, and then exhale, we fold forward. Keep drawing that left hip back and the right hip forward. One side's going to be tighter than the other, and that's okay. If you need to have a little bend in the front leg, that's okay. Try not to make it too big though. And of course, hands can come to the front leg for support if that lower back is starting to have a little bit of a complaint. Or hands stay on hips, and you continue to fold a little deeper, bringing the heart center closer to the front of the left thigh. Relaxing completely through the back of the neck, maybe looking back at those right toes. And then again, to release, we simply bend the front leg enough so that we can place the palms of the hands onto the mat, and then we walk back into our downward facing dog. Let's take one more vinyasa flow of our choice in your own time. Inhale forwards, exhale to come down. Inhale into a cobra or an upward dog variation. Exhale back out over those knees and toes. And take 3 deep breaths here, in and out. Centering through the breath. Keep touching base with all those technique points in your downward dog. Make sure you're pressing the pads of the hands into the floor, engaging through the front of the thighs. Shoulders rotate out, spine, tailbone lifts towards the ceiling. After your next exhalation, completely empty the lungs, bend the knees slightly, and we're going to walk or jump our feet to the top of our mat. Inhale to a halfway lift of your choice, whether that's fingertips or hands to shins. And then exhale, we soften and fold deeper into Uttanasana. Taking those fingers towards the floor, so bending the knees as much as you need to come into our toe squat. And then we're going to lower onto our mat to complete the cool down section of our posture. So we're going to do Uttanasana, or wide leg angle pose. You might like to sit up on the edge of a folded blanket or cushion, and you want to sit right at the very edge. So you feel like your pelvis is almost about to fall off. Take your time to set up. Walk the flesh out from underneath the buttocks if you need to. And energy out through soles of the feet, toes pointing up towards the sky. Thighs engaged. From here, we take those legs out into a comfortable V position for you. So I like mine a little wider, but it can be narrow, it's up to you. But wherever you are, making sure that toes stay engaged. Take your hands behind you. Inhale to lift and lengthen through the torso. Now, if you're quite tight in your inner thighs, this might be strong enough for you. You might be happy to stay here, just focusing on trying to bring your pelvis from back into a neutral alignment, particularly if you feel like your lower back is curving. If you'd like to move deeper, then we exhale, we contract through the core, and we press through the fingertips like they're tree roots behind us to grow the forehead and the crown of the head towards the wall opposite us. Back over the neck is long. And take it nice and slow and steady. There's no race here. You'll just slowly allow your thighs to open. Now, if this is feeling strong enough, we keep the hands behind us. If you feel like your inner thighs have begun to open, then you can perhaps bring your hands in front of you, working the heart center closer to the floor, or you can hold on to hands to shin or ankle. Now, I quite like this grip because I can use the grip as another little chance to draw the crown of my head closer to the wall in front of me. That's up to you. If you feel more supported with hands in front of you on the mat, then do so. Close down your eyes and focus in on the breath and how your body is feeling. So I find with this posture in particular, the longer we hold, the more we tend to let the legs switch off. So we'll let the toes relax, we'll let the legs kind of flop, we'll let this muscle in the top of the thigh become soft and not engaged. But the more engaged you stay through the legs, the more you're letting that energy flow freely, the more you're going to be able to deepen into the fold. And it's just a scientific fact that if you are contracting the muscle on top, the muscle underneath naturally loosens, and vice versa, yeah? Holding for a number of breaths. Increasing blood flow in towards the groin and our reproductive organs, so really good for our reproductive organs' health. Maybe on your second or third exhalation, you can feel yourself soften a little bit more deeply into the posture. And then when you're ready to release, we inhale to look forward. Exhale, the hands are either drifting along the mat or along the legs to bring yourself back upright. Take hands underneath the knees. Draw the knees in towards the chest. It's probably best to come off the cushion or the towel if you have it around you. And we're wrapping into our cosmic egg. So arms wrap around the legs and we draw the forehead down towards the knees. You're holding here for a number of breaths. And by doing this, we're trying to release tension that might have built up in the upper back during those stretches. So you can let the spine curve slightly and you can let the weight rock back onto your tailbone. And when you're ready, we inhale to lift the forehead back up off the knees. We're going to come into our Lord of the Fish posture now. So let's take our left leg and we're going to place it under us. And then the right leg is either going to be on the inside edge of the left knee or we can place it over on the opposite side. Whichever option you choose, though, you want to make sure you can feel both sitting bones or both buttocks really firmly grounding down into the mat. If this right buttock is coming off, then make sure you bring that foot back onto the inside edge of the knee. But once we're here and we're adjusted, we're feeling like we're sitting up nice and tall, hands on the knees. Inhale to lift and lengthen. And we'll work into our twist by taking right hand behind us. Then we inhale, left arm up nice and high. As we exhale, we come into a twist and we can either hook the elbow onto the outside edge of the right knee, or we can wrap the elbow. Depends on which makes you feel more secure. I tend to vary, so I find the wrap means that I feel the stretch more in towards my right buttock, which sometimes I like, whereas the hook, I think, makes me think a little bit more about growing taller and feeling that spiraling action through my spine. So it's a personal preference. As you take your next exhalation, deepen the twist if you can to look out over the right shoulder. Making sure you're not putting too much weight into the back hand. It's just there to guide you into the posture, not to be a structure of support. A few more deep breaths in and out through the nose. And then your next exhalation, take the head back to center and softly allow the torso to come out of the twist. And then we're just going to change over the legs. So weight into the fingertips behind us, that we change the cross of the legs. So we're going to make sure you can feel both buttocks really firmly grounding down into the mat. If your left buttock is lifting up, bring that left foot into the inside edge of the knee. The left hand comes behind. Inhale, right arm up nice and high. Exhale, we hook or we wrap. Inhale to grow a little taller, and then we exhale to deepen the twist. Really thinking about that sense of spiraling energy from the tailbone all the way up to the crown of the head. Softly looking over the left shoulder. Maybe you can even take the stretch into the eyes, that the right eye is looking towards that back right corner. Remembering to breathe, even though the torso is in a slightly constricted, twisted position. And then to release, we inhale to look forward. Exhale, we gently unwind from the twist. Bring more weight into the hands again. To bring those legs out long, we're coming into Dandasana. So very important that you've definitely not got the prop underneath you now, because we're going to go through some abdominal roll-ups. So we're sitting up nice and tall, legs and thighs are engaged, toes are pointing. Fingers in front of us. As we exhale, we'll roll down our spine, vertebrae by vertebrae. And imagine someone's resisting that roll down by pulling on our fingers. So as we exhale, we slowly roll down. It's probably going to be like a little sticky point. And that's where you want to almost focus even more, so that it's nice and smooth. As you release the head, neck, and shoulders down, you inhale to bring the hands behind you. Make sure that your rib cage stays engaged though, and down towards your hips. Inhale, the hands come back up. And now it's someone pulling on our fingers that slowly brings us up. And hopefully we don't want any herky-jerky moments. We're reaching forwards. Exhale again, we slowly roll down. With control. No clunky bits, hopefully. Inhale, the hands reach above the head. And then exhale, we're just using the strength of our abdominals. So we're trying to take momentum out of it if we can. Good. This time as we come back, we're going to completely lie down and stay down. Excellent. Beautiful. Now if your mat's gotten a little bit folded, just take a second to bring that out. And we're going to do one really simple spinal twist flow before we come into relaxation. So, rolling back down if you've moved. Let's take hands to a cactus shape position out from the shoulders. Soles of the feet on the mat, knees are bent, and we'll knock the knees together. And then as we exhale, we'll take the knees all the way to the right. And turn the gaze look to the left. Inhale, we come back up. Exhale. Knees to the left as we look to the right. And if you're going in a different direction to me, don't stress. It's a flow, so we're flowing between both sides. Just make sure you do an even amount on both sides. And as you take this flow, exhaling into the twist, inhaling back through center, noticing that lovely sense of massage that you're feeling through the hips and the buttocks and the pelvis. And also through the back of the head. And again, we're feeling more of that lovely spiral through the spine, shoulders, shoulder blades and arms are relaxed into the floor. If you want to hold for a few breaths on either twist, you're welcome to as well. And eventually, when we've evened off the sides, we bring the head and the knees back to center, and then we choose our position for Shavasana. So you might prefer to keep your knees bent and knock together, soles of the feet on the mat. That's really nice sometimes if you ever get tension in the hips or the lower back during relaxation. Or you can take traditional Shavasana with the legs low, feet very generous, hip width distance apart, toes swapping out to the side. Hands can be either beside the body, palms facing up, or resting the hands on the belly, palms facing down. If you have that cushion nearby still, you're thinking, gosh, my head feels a little bit tender, I want a little bit of cushioning behind the back of my skull, you can do so as well. Just make sure that the back of your neck is really long and the cushion's just behind the skull and is not digging into the neck. Complete any last little wriggles or adjustments that you need to. And then invite yourself into complete stillness. Good. And As you exhale, you can feel the whole back of your body really sinking and melting down into the mat. As you inhale, the whole top half of your body feels really light, open, spacious, open to receiving the energy that we've built up in the room. Feel the muscles of your toes, soles of feet and ankles soften and relax. As the flesh of the shin and the calves melts away from the bones. Front and back of knees relax. Front and back of thighs heavy and soft. Letting go of any tension we might be feeling around the lower back. The belly and the hips are soft. Their hard work is done for the moment. We have a sense of rib cage and shoulder blades melting and fusing down into the floor beneath us. At the same time, the heart center, the front of the rib cage is very soft, allowing for nice deep, easy breaths in and out. Your arms are completely relaxed wherever they may be. Fingertips gently curling inwards. Front and back neck is long. The mouth is just very softly closed. There's no tension being held around the cheeks or around the eyes, particularly at the back of the eye socket. A sense of the eye socket opening up towards the third eye center. Any tension or frown lines around the temples or the forehead just melts away. So you feel the back and the top of the skull open and release. If any thoughts begin to bubble up in the mind, acknowledge them and gently press them to one side. Letting anything intrude into this moment of peace and relaxation. Slowly begin to draw the awareness back to the body now, taking a few deep breaths in and out, really noticing belly rise and fall. Maybe taking an audible exhale out through your mouth. Bring a little bit of movement to fingers and toes, keeping them movable, feeling the skin wrap on skin. And then turning your head from side to side to massage through the back of the skull, reawakening the neck. Head returns to center. We finish any last little stretches that might feel right for us, whether that's inhaling into a full body stretch, perhaps drawing those knees in towards the chest for a little final hug and squeeze. And then only when you feel ready should you roll over onto your right side. And pause there for a moment in a fetal position, giving your body one last chance to re-enter the space of the room. With eyes still softly closed, we press down through the palms of our hands and make our way to a comfortable seated or kneeling position, not worrying too much about where we end up facing. Hands and knees. Re-establish that lovely long spine and reconnect with the breath. Back of the neck is long. Take your hands to prayer at heart center. Take a moment to truly thank ourselves for taking the time out of our busy day and week to come and practice yoga. To conclude with one chant of the mantra Om, you can join in simply by listening. If you'd like to chant with me, we synchronize the breath by all exhaling here. Breath in for May you carry these peaceful vibrations with you into the rest of the day and the rest of the week. Namaste. So thank you for joining me for Hump Day Yoga, now on YouTube. If you liked the class and then you want to do more, hit that subscribe button. And if you have any feedback or any questions about what we did, you can drop a comment below, or you can reach out to me via email or Instagram if you already follow me there. Okay? Have a wonderful day.